Time being 9:01. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for you, Just.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, somebody move to me.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Teresa, second by?
Me.
Justin? Yep. Any discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved. Minutes. Any additions, corrections, deletions to the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Dana? Second by?
Me.
Justin?
Yep.
Discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Public comment period, 2 minutes. No personal attacks. Would anybody like to address the board?
Good morning, Commissioners. Ken Jumper from La Crescent Township. I've given each of you a copy of something that the Houston County Protectors put together this weekend. You know, I think all of us were at the public hearing last week on the proposed zoning ordinance, and I think we all recognize that it wasn't very acceptable to most people in this county. And so Houston County Protectors thought that this might be a good opportunity for us to put forward a proposal. And if you look at it, you know, we're trying to find something that has appeal to a lot of people, and we believe that this proposal for an amendment to the zoning ordinance to deal with frac sand mining issue in this county does that. It may not satisfy everyone, but I think everyone could live with it. It's an attempt to find some common ground. Just briefly, if you look through this, it's built on the existing current zoning ordinance dealing with mining in the county right now. Most of this, 95% of it, comes right out of our existing zoning ordinance. What we've done is we've added less than a page and a half of regulation from the Florence Township zoning ordinance here up by Dakota County. And as you can see, what we did here, and this was talked about at the public hearing, we defined construction sand and industrial sand. And then it goes on to prohibit the mining of industrial minerals in this county. So I wish you would look this over. I wish we'd had a chance to be on the regular agenda to explain this more fully with you and to talk about it and to answer your questions. But I think it is pretty self-explanatory. But it is, again, it's an attempt to find some common ground in this long-standing debate we've had in this county. You know, clearly mining people in this county do not want the overregulation that was in the proposal on Tuesday night. Clearly, we would like something regulating frac sand mining. So I hope you'll look this over and think about it, and we'd like a chance to present it to the study committee eventually here too. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Ken, do you have another copy of that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do.
And is that the same that was emailed to us?
I emailed, well, I cleaned it up a little. There were a few typos on it.
Okay, cool.
But the underlined portion is the portion borrowed from Florence Township. The rest is all from our existing county zoning ordinance right now. So keep that in mind.
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. What do we know? We know that rail access is coming to Houston County. We know that the fracking industry is transitioning to a larger particle-sized sand, which is what we have an abundance of in Houston County. We know that in March 15th, all protections from frac sand mining will be gone in Houston County. So, you have just 60 days to implement a ban, or Houston County will become the free-for-all frac sand mining capital that is Wisconsin right now. Miners will dictate how things are done around here. You'll have more legal battles than you ever imagined. And the Erickson mine is just one small taste of that. You've been led around by the planning and zoning boys for 3 years. Now you find yourself backed into a corner. There can be no more procrastination. It's time for a ban. That is the only thing you can do to protect Houston County from frac sand mining at this time. Remember, you already voted in a roll call vote on March 25th, 2014 to write that ban. It's time to do what you voted for. Thank you.
My name is Steve Hartwick. I'm from Money Creek Township. I think we all saw on Thursday night that the miners in the townships don't want that aggregate, the old ordinance, messed around with too much. That's what they're familiar and comfortable with. What we need is a separate second ordinance that defines silica sand mining, and not by volume, but by the process and the product. And you have a time frame to develop this before the moratorium kicks out. But that's probably not going to be enough. So what you need to do in the meantime is develop a prohibition language, have that go into effect. And it's probably going to be challenged, but the gears of the judiciary grind pretty slowly. So you're going to have a window there to develop something that you can put in your drawer that's a backup, something you can pull out. This is what was the original intent of what was supposed to be happening with this frac sand study committee. And if you get something like that, it should be stringent as possible. That's what we were assured that this was going to happen, was that we're going to have something that was going to be strong enough to protect Houston County. This obviously doesn't do that, the draft provision. It should be stringent, it should be specific in the details of what is in the ordinance and what has to be followed. And the third thing, it should have strict enforcement provisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Knight, Alameda County. I've done some research on county ban ordinances, and they can be written to include a provision that if it's legally challenged, successfully legally challenged, that the county would go into moratorium rather than, not have anything, and that would give a county time to have a regulatory ordinance put into place. And if you had one literally on the shelf ready to go, there'd be that's just an option that you have. We didn't have the political will in Alameda County to have an outright ban. Plus, we didn't know about this tactic either. It appears to me that you do have a political will in this county to have a ban, and Alameda went with a very strong regulatory ordinance that we feel de facto prohibits mining, which your proposed one doesn't quite do. We did that with zoning overlays, setbacks, and prohibited areas. But it seems to me that you do have the political will in this county to consider a ban, and I'd be willing to work with you on either one.
John Beckman, Houston Township. I'm going to switch gears a little bit this morning and talk about the old jail. I find it hard to believe that it's been 9 months and nothing's been done since the water froze and caused all the damage. That there hasn't been any effort, as I see, to find out how that could happen. If that was on a vacant building, needs more attention than a building that's being used, and every taxpayer in the county needs to know why this happened, who's responsible, and what's to be done about it. It was property damage to the county, and we need to know why. I realize it's kind of a predicament when your property manager is also your HR person, but it needs to be addressed, before this can go on. It costs the county money, and we know that if it was the zoning department, money would be no object to have that investigated.
Thanks, John. Are there any further comments? Anyone else? If not, we'll proceed with the meeting.
Hey, John, if you want to stick around, we do have jail updates coming up in a little while for discussion.
That's okay, I trust you.
Okay. Clearly not, but okay.
Dan, you're up.
Morning.
Good morning.
As we just talked about a few weeks ago, whenever we use the compliance fund to pay for anything, we have to come and get a board motion. And we came a couple weeks ago about our MCCC group that we're involved with. And at the end of last year, we got an opportunity through Schneider, who does our Beacon website, to add our pictometry photos, which we got last year, the multiple angle photos to our website. And the typical cost for that is a $1,000 setup fee and then $900 a year to have it on our site. And the deal they were running was they would waive the setup fee if we agreed to go with the button on there. So we agreed to do that, and we want to take that money out of the compliance fund in addition to what we were paying last year for Beacon. And Bev is out sick today, or she would have been here too, and everyone's on board with the land use. And so we are, as we talked also about last time, we're going to ask for a little bit of additional in case we have something else come up, so we don't have to keep coming to the board every single time. So we want to increase our allotment by $1,500 a year out of the compliance fund.
How's this fitting our budget? I mean,
Well, it's
or your budget?
compliance fund, so it fits
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's no
Yeah.
tax money on that.
She's not out of money yet.
No.
Haven't tapped her out.
You
I'll
just need a motion.
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion that we go ahead with the up to $1,500 out of the compliance fund for this addition to Beacon Schneider.
Is
I'll
there-
second.
Okay, motion made, seconded. Is there any discussion?
No, and we had mentioned this before, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago or something. It's,
We need a motion on the
Yeah.
books, yeah.
yeah, exactly, yep.
I think it's a good way to utilize, I mean, we've already
Really,
paid
we've
for
already
the
paid for the
photography,
pictures.
so why not get it out to everybody?
Right.
I mean, basically, if you're in Beacon looking at a parcel, there will be a pictometry tab that you can click on and get multiple angle photography.
It'll create better efficiency in our office because we use the Beacon site quite a bit and rather than to go back into pictometry, why we can get, banging in right away, so it'll really
Yeah,
work out
that's
well, I
great.
think.
Any more discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Kurt,
Morning.
good morning.
I bring to you a joint powers agreement. I don't know if you've all had a chance to read it. 5 years ago, we joined a joint powers board through Southeast Minnesota Emergency Management. The purpose of that was that the federal grant funding we used to get through Homeland Security, we could get on an individual level. We can't do that anymore, so it's all regionalized grants now. We formed the Joint Powers Board 5 years ago. I think we've had all new board members since. So what they've done is they had to rewrite because we've purchased equipment over the years that now we gotta have insurance on. So they had to redraft our Joint Powers Agreement. So we need to have that re-signed again, and then we also have another $1,000 due that's due. And the purpose of that those dues goes to help cover the insurance policies on the equipment we've purchased. It's operational costs, insurance costs, projects that are not covered by the grant comes out of that. So all 16 counties are putting in $1,000. We did this 5 years ago. We've kind of expunged that money, so now we gotta replenish it a little bit, so.
Will it be an annual dues?
No,
1,000?
it's just a one-time.
Okay.
We did this 5 years ago. We haven't had to pay any dues since because we've been operating on that original $16,000 since then. But now with the equipment that we've purchased, now we gotta start putting insurance coverage on it and stuff, so it's gonna cost us a little bit more, so.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the joint powers agreement changes and add the $1,000 dues for this year.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, all of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Would any of you like to serve as an alternate, or Sheriff Ingles, or Inglis said he would, as an alternate board person? I sat on the board myself. Do you want to appoint an alternate?
I would think the sheriff would be a good alternate for you.
Who was it before?
Tom Garrity?
Do other groups have a commissioner as a?
Not all of us, no.
Okay.
Totally up to you.
When do you meet?
Excuse me?
When do you meet?
We usually meet once a month, not always, but they try to meet monthly.
Where at?
Most of the time it's in Owatonna and Steele County, which is kind of centrally located. But then we also do video conferencing like we have downstairs. So, and then our annual conferences we meet. Most
What-
of our grant funding this year is all going to a planner.
Yeah. Once a month, what day or?
It's usually this, I gotta think it's on a Friday, I think it's the third Friday every month, so.
Friday. Mornings, afternoons?
10 o'clock in the morning.
Morning, okay. Doesn't work for me. Anybody else?
The alternates don't have to be, as long as, if I can't be there, somebody else can show up. If we have, what I would call it.
Maybe we could just
I
select,
think-
if
I
we don't
think
name
that
somebody.
If the sheriff would go
Yeah.
though as the alternate, he would understand more
Mhm.
of what's going on with that than we would just being alternates filling in once in a while. So as long as we find out from you guys what's going on, I think that would be good. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I agree.
Sheriff's sitting right there, you can ask.
He already said it was okay, right?
Okay with that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Brian.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
On the agenda for 3 items today, the first one is a resolution for project SP 28-599-077. This is the bridge replacement project on Charlie Drive. The county approved Icon Construction for that project to do the work for us a few months ago. This is a project that had funding from 2016, federal funding from 2016. So that funding is not going to be available until 2016, but we want to build it now due to the condition of that bridge. The state told us everything was good. We could go ahead and do that. We can use township money and then reimburse the township fund with the federal funds once it comes in. As we've gone through the process, the state's now telling us that they want to have the board approve a resolution essentially agreeing that the federal funding is going to go and reimburse the town fund accounts. So,
And the townships are okay with spending their money and waiting for a reimbursement?
yes, because that money's going to sit there untouched. We're not in a shortage in that account right now anyway, so it's not going to impact any township projects.
What
by doing
township
this
is
way.
it?
This is Sheldon Township. So,
So you need a motion
so we need to head up.
to, that we would release the funds, federal
just-
funds back to the township?
Just a motion to approve this resolution.
Okay, motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
The second project I have on here is to award the bid for project SAP 028-608-014, which is the paving project on County 8, west of Spring Grove. It's known as Locust Road over in Iowa section. So
We had bid opening for this project yesterday. We plan on paving this with concrete instead of asphalt. Your first concrete project in the county, or first larger concrete project in the county. We do have another section that has some concrete pavement on it, but 3 miles of concrete pavement. We had 5 bidders, 4 of which we opened bids. One of the bids was incomplete, so we did not open the bid. The low bid was concrete foundations of bid amount was $1,773,038.38. That was 11.96% under the estimate. The estimate was $2,013,802.38. The other 3 bidders were slightly over the estimate. So number looks good. Concrete Foundations has done work. Told that they did the Locust Road project within Iowa. They're going to be doing work for the MnDOT this summer up on the interstate up by St. Charles. They did work over in Freeborn County. So we haven't worked with them ourselves, but they have done work in Minnesota. And from what I've heard, they've done good quality work. So recommend approval of concrete
So
foundations.
why did you decide to go concrete rather than asphalt?
Price of asphalt's gone up a lot in the last 5-6 years. It's gone up.
Does concrete last longer?
80%.
type of
Concrete should
deal?
give us about another 60% more life expectancy than asphalt. And when you look at the life cycle cost analysis, in this case, concrete's cheaper. It's a roadway with enough traffic on it, enough heavy truck traffic that the justification to go concrete versus asphalt definitely has a strong argument to go concrete direction. I did prepare a life cycle cost analysis that I've used internally, provided to MnDOT State Aid for them to review, and they agree as well that concrete is the most economical way.
Do you foresee this being kind of a trend here in a little while, that we'll do more roads in concrete?
Statewide, there's a lot more roadways going concrete. You know, with asphalt or oil costs going down, you know, that might drop the asphalt cost in the future. So I can see the trend going where you have a lot more options. You can go either direction. Where in the past, you know, asphalt was the way to go with the life cycle cost.
Mm-hmm.
Now concrete was coming the way, and now with the oil price coming down, maybe it's back and forth.
I make a motion to approve this bid for County 8.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Okay, the third item I have is approval of an updated sign policy. There are some regulations that went in place at the federal level back in, I believe they went into effect in 2009 as far as getting a policy put into place. But then there were some delays in the enforcement of that policy, and looking at the sign for inventories, trying to meet minimum retroreflectivity requirements. The highway department's had a policy internally in place since January of 2012. The policy's been updated a couple times since then, and now they come to the board to have the board approve the policy. What the policy essentially states is that you know, we're going to maintain our signs as they get replaced. We need to keep inspecting them, and when the reflectivity of the signs at night get to be a condition that are no longer acceptable or don't meet minimum standards, they need to be replaced. We have been inspecting signs and essentially complying with this policy for the last 3 years. Nothing has changed that's going to really cause any issues with how we do things internally. It's just instead of being an internal highway department only policy, it's one that's approved by the board. So,
Do they have any way for, you know, like when they test reflectivity, I mean, is there any way to do that, or is it just kind of an arbitrary basis?
there's different methods. There is equipment, but with the equipment method, you need to test different locations on the sign. You know, like if you have a stop sign, you have some white on the stop sign, you have red on the stop sign. You need to test, you know, 2-3 different locations on the red part. You test 2-3 different locations on the white part. You take the average, and that's the one way of doing it. The equipment's expensive. You don't need to go that route. Another way is to look at the signs, and you train someone's eyes with a sign that's barely meets the minimum requirements. And you want to have this person be believe they need to be right around 60 or maybe 55 or older because of how their eyes function versus some younger person. And then they go around at night and look at all the signs in the county. A third way to do it is you go based on manufacturer's warranty or expected sign life expectancy, and you just replace it when that life expectancy is up. And what I would like to do is kind of take a combination where we don't necessarily go out there and do the night inspections of every sign every year. So we kind of go based on life expectancy up until we get to that point, and once we want to keep a sign beyond the life expectancy, then we go out there and we do the nighttime inspections with someone that's been trained on how to do that. So
That makes sense.
It's kind of the cheapest, most economical way of us doing it.
What is the life expectancy of a sign?
It varies on the sign.
Mhm.
There's different grades of signs. Some signs are at DG3. You have their brighter sign, they really reflect. Some of those signs can cause actually issues being too reflective at night. There's high intensity signs which don't last quite as long. Typically, you're going to figure 12 to 15 years, depending on the sign direction, the sign color, like I said, the sheeting on the sign. There's a lot of factors. So some of these signs might be able to get us 17, 18 years. So some of them might be replaced at 10. So some of them be paintballed or shot up. A lot
Targets,
quicker.
yeah.
They don't survive very long during deer season.
Is there much of that anymore? People shooting the signs, putting.
You know, I don't hear about a whole lot of that.
Mhm.
The biggest thing that I've seen is just with paintballs. With paintballs and stuff, the sign looks, you can get that paint off of it. The sign looks good during the day, but at night, it still shows up.
Takes
so
the
you need to replace it.
reflectivity.
So.
I make a motion that we adopt this policy.
Sure, second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Yeah, I have one more thing that's not on the agenda, but I'd like to inform the board that I would I plan on purchasing 2 cab and chassis plow trucks and stuff. It's in the budget. The current delay from when we order it to when we get them here in stock, they're telling us if we order it today, we won't get the truck until September. That would be if it was just the cab and chassis. By the time we put the box on the wing and the plow, it's going to be November. So it's about a 10-month process from when we order the cab and chassis until we get the end product. So to get it now would get us here just prior, right at the beginning of next winter. So the cost of the cab and chassis is $114,667. Like I said, we have a budget for 2 of them. I'd like to order 2. We have 4 plow trucks between the ages of, well, they were purchased between 1996 and 2012. I'm going to replace 2 of those. Which ones are going to be, we're still determining. The oldest truck, we put the most money into it recently. We've done some upgrades. So do we want to replace it or do we want to hold on to that slightly, another year? And we're going to work on determining that here in the next couple months. But so.
How come it takes so long? Why does it take 10 months to?
In the past, it used to be 6-7 months. It's just the demand, the number of manufacturers out there. Takes a while to build them.
You know, like our plow trucks, are they the same length as a standard like dump truck as far as axle lengths? Or I mean, or is it specific, that's why it's taking so long, or why, you'd think they'd be an assembly line, you're just pulling one off for this purpose, this is this person's purpose,
They, same length. I mean, there's so many different combinations of trucks. I mean, there's nothing special as far as the length or the actual configuration we use that other counties or
Sure.
state uses. And so yes, it's pretty much a standard truck. They do build them individually after you order them because everyone has different components as far as what you have internally on them for controls, for I guess there's a lot of details about it, but they don't have them just sitting there waiting in stock. It's just supply and demand. They just don't have extra time to keep making them in advance. They sell them as soon as they get them made.
Sure.
So, that'll be it.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Okay, no other appointments. Consent agenda. Correspondence to Senator Miller regarding the EDA term length. And correspondence to various committee appointees. Correspondence to payroll regarding new hires and tons delivered to Excel. Any questions on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to
Comments?
approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
You know, actually Senator Miller, he just really wrote back that he will get back to us on it more than anything, so.
Any other
Funny that
discussion?
That would be a legislative item for term length, you know, on EDA, but.
It's a statute, that's why they have to change.
Pardon?
It's a statute, a state statute, so they have to change the statute.
Any further discussion? All of those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And unfinished business, frac sand issue updates. I think that's being worked on at this point
I
yet.
got something.
Okay.
Oh, you know, I went back and we were put in charge of putting wording, some wording for frac, to ban frac sand, and my name was on the committee, so. I've been working on language on banning frac sand, and I have with me a proposal, and I'd like the county attorney to go over it and see if the wording is good enough, and this is an addition, this is called section 28, it's an addition to the ordinance that you guys are working on right now to correct. You know, after the meeting last week, I was surprised even that the miners didn't want to ban frac sand. So, you know, I've always been the frac ban guy, and because we were put in charge of this in last spring, I have the wording, and I really want to. You think we should have the attorney? I want to get some input from you guys. Yeah, we can. When we get to the end of the process, we can vote on your ordinances and then possibly vote on this too as a ban, which is what I would like to see.
You just have the one copy?
Justin also.
Just have the one copy?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't know if you can make copies for.
You don't have copies for us?
It's not very long, but is that okay with you, Mr. Sam? I would like to make sure, read it over and make sure it's, we can, if it's enforceable or whatever.
What I would suggest is, if the board wants me to take a look at that, what I would do is, I would review it, write a memo, and then I would provide a copy for all the board members, whatever you want to do with it. That said, I think I talked to Chairperson Schultz about this, is that I'm in the process of requesting, because I think all of the documents that all the work was done by Mr. Squires, I don't know if it's in our office, all the correspondence and all the work, it may be scattered throughout the county, different agencies. I'm trying to accumulate that so I can review that and come up to speed with the work that he has done, sort of review. I'm not familiar with it generally, but I like to see specifically all the documents that were sent forward. If I don't get it here, if I can't get it done here in the next week or so, then I'm just gonna call Mr. Squires, I wanna see what the cost is on it. We're the client, we should be able to get our file and say, you know, see if the cost is cheaper for us to accumulate it here, we'll do that. But otherwise, I would hope that it's a courtesy, as that we've always seen fit bill, right? That they would provide us a copy of the file.
Sure. That
But
sounds
I
good.
certainly can do that.
Can I give it to you?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you guys?
Is
Look
that
at
the,
it and then
I
Sam
think
can
that's the
give us
consensus
Yeah, can
on
give
board.
us a review. Whatever.
Yeah. Any other updates on that? Highway Department building, repairs?
Yeah, we're just
Construction?
waiting for Brian and
Yeah.
that, so.
Haven't heard anything on the,
No,
anything
me
further.
neither. No.
And nothing new on the court or the old jail.
No, where are we at with that as far as, I know we had kind of talked about timelines and getting things done and, you know, as far as, I know there's paperwork depending on either way we want to go, if it's to raise it or if it's to sell it or to remodel it. But, you know, as far as keeping that ball going, where are we at?
As far as I know, I think it's in mothballs at this point.
Right.
And they're,
I
I don't think we're waiting for anything.
I thought you directed Cass
She was
to
gonna
report
get-
back in January.
Yeah, and she was gonna get numbers and stuff like that. Is that something put on the agenda maybe for next week or something? And
Yeah.
because I know she said that she
Mhm.
had numbers, what it costs to raise it versus what it would cost to remodel it, or, I mean, whatever those costs are. Trying to get that figured out.
Just that no tax dollars are
Correct.
Right.
going into
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
And we're not doing anything with the fund, the insurance fund, until the decision is made on the
Correct.
jail.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we did ask for our numbers, because we can't make any decisions till we have the
No.
numbers.
Yeah, and I know we talked about January. I know last week was busy, and we got this
Mhm.
week, so just want to make sure that that ball's still rolling downfield, so.
Okay.
Okay, no, keep going.
Yeah, commissioner updates, Dana?
Yesterday I attended the Southeastern Minnesota Water Board in Orinoco, and the meeting went well. We had a hydrologist from Minnesota Department of Health, Jim Lundy, gave an hour and a half presentation, PowerPoint presentation on quality of water in the area, and how it was very interesting, and he knows a lot about water, and a lot of the water in our area is filtered with sand. So when we think about sand mining in this county, we should think about, do we want to give away our filters? And he showed us a thing where where your overburden is less, the wells have more of a chance of being polluted when you take the filters off them. So it really piqued my interest. And I didn't know they were going to talk about that. It was a lot to think about. He's a very smart man. I wish you all could have heard him. He was very good. And another thing is I got voted vice chairman of the Southern Minnesota Water Board yesterday. That's all I had last week, other than the meeting we all attended last week.
Teresa?
The only one I had was Thursday, we met with staff, going over the comments for the, received at the public hearing, and trying to address that in the proposed ordinance amended.
Yep, and I was at the meeting with Teresa and the rest of the board of the planning commission, so that was all I had.
We were supposed to have EDA, but we canceled it till this Wednesday. And part of the reason is we need to get people on the EDA, because if even one person can't make the meeting, we don't have a quorum. So we're working at trying to
Really
get.
down, aren't we?
We're really down, yes.
Yeah.
And it'll help if we can get the legislation changed where people don't have to commit to 6 years, because that's really a problem. And then I had an HRA meeting in Rushford yesterday, and we were talking about the school project that passed in Rushford and what their plans are for the new building, just informative things like that. And we're, and then we finished the Vesterheim thing, so that's all done. We just are waiting for the financials to come back on it to see where we're at. And then also they're gonna try and once a year, there'll be a presentation here from the HRA so that everyone here is up to speed on what we do. Minutes will be coming out soon from our meeting, and they'll send it to everyone.
Okay.
So it was a good meeting.
That's a good thing. It's almost like the SEMCAC, I think, is on for next week with their updates.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
keeps us informed.
Okay, I was also at the mineral ordinance meeting last week, and I had SIMCAC last night, and we had a review of the finances of SIMCAC, and they are very financially stable. I'm on the committee, or planning committee, and we discussed a grant for $2 million from a federal grant anyway, from $2 million to go towards Head Start. Our Head Start program is under-enrolled, so I think any help we can get as far as getting enrollments up would be tremendously appreciated. Kind of a shame there. We could be losing some funding if we don't get that back again. And that's it for me. Does anybody need Sam anymore?
Sam, could I
Noise.
just give you this joint powers agreement for signature that
Yeah.
Kurt presented?
Do we want to talk about a policy for our agenda now?
Sam, is there any way you could scan that and send the email to the other commissioners?
I don't like feeling like
Yeah,
we're
the one I
getting
gave.
pressure.
Yeah, I can.
You wanna, guys wanna see it?
Have my staff do it.
What are we talking about now?
I don't have a scanner at home.
Get on our agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Policy meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. And when is that?
Yep.
I don't have it. I don't know.
I think it's the second
Thanks
for
Tuesday.
coming.
Isn't it first or second? Tuesday.
Okay, approve claims, human services, and license center disbursements. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, to pay the claims.
Okay, second, anyone?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, confirmed change of the Finance Standing Committee, second and fourth Tuesday of each month.
Who's on that committee?
I did volunteer to be on that committee because I'm not on law committee anymore. So that finance would work good for me.
okay.
No motion required on that, I don't think. Is there?
Consensus is fine.
Consensus,
That's
okay. And let's discuss the Selco Board appointment. Meetings are the fourth Tuesday in January, April, July, and October in Rochester. 5 o'clock, and it's a supper meeting. 5 o'clock is supper and 5:30 meeting.
I have a lot of
Volunteers?
love for libraries, but I already have 2 meetings in Rochester each month, so I'd rather not add a third. I don't
Any
know if
volunteers
anybody
from the
else-
floor of the board? Any volunteers?
I'll do it.
Ah, okay. Judy.
Oh, I forgot one other thing I should have discussed. Can I bring it up now?
Yeah, go for it.
I was talking to Mike Pellinger about the lacrosse area planning committee or commission. We pay dues to it as a county. We belong to it.
The planning commission?
Or is it?
Is it Seven Rivers?
No, it's not Seven Rivers.
You're not
It's-
talking about the solid waste?
Nope. No, it's something, and I've been getting emails on it, but I didn't really, know which,
I don't think we pay dues to anything for.
well,
Nothing I'm aware of.
it's, called.
I know they have one, but I thought the city of La Crescent was involved, but not the county.
Because I get the emails from them, but I didn't know that we were supposed to be there.
Who,
But Mike says that we are. It's, here it is. Lacrosse Area Planning Committee.
we've, in the 4 years
They
that
said-
we've been on,
Is
we've never
this
been
one that?
involved in it. or
It's nothing
paid
I
dues.
remember.
And we haven't ever paid any dues to it.
And he said that we used to be represented by Jack on it.
So maybe somebody should show up and see what's going on?
Yeah, might be a good idea.
Well,
But we would know if we were paying dues.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
we
think
should-
so.
well,
should've
I
been
can,
on-
I'll
should've
try
been on
and
our
follow up on
appropriation
it.
list.
Okay.
Okay.
They have a meeting next Wednesday, but, I'll try and talk to the person who keeps sending emails. I just thought everybody was getting them, but,
No, I've never received.
Who's the email
them.
coming from?
from Jackie Eastwood with,
Okay.
lacrosse planning, I think she's on.
Okay. All right. Next department head meeting is the 27th, Dana and Judy.
Got it.
Okay. Is
Two
there any-
more things that were kind of brought up last minute. I know Judy and I were just talking in the law committee. Mark English just wanted to let us know he'd like to get on next week. He wasn't sure exactly how to go about getting an appointment on the board, but we got the issue going on with the chief deputy, and then there was another issue too he wanted to bring before. I can't remember which one it was.
It's for deputies that, he would really
Oh, yeah.
like to look at deputies being able to take their car home with them if they live within 5 miles of the county line, but not crossing state lines. And that would give us response better from those officers coming in. Like, we have someone who lives just over the Fillmore County line, and that area doesn't have as many deputies. So if we would look at letting a deputy that lives within 5 miles bring their car home so that we could
Respond to increased response times.
because they can't respond in their personal vehicle. There's no cameras, there's no radio, there's none of that. So they have to come back to Caledonia to get the car to go out that way to respond. So
Isn't
he's
that the
gonna
way it
bring
was
up.
before? Is that different?
It always was, they had to be inside of the county,
Oh,
the
okay,
cars
that's how
did.
it's different?
Yep, so that deputy would leave his car in Caledonia and drive his personal vehicle back and forth,
And then go back.
and then go
Did that
back
come,
to respond.
that must have come up when they had that burglary near Spring Grove,
Yeah.
probably.
And then there was another call that
Mhm.
this officer responded, and it was on his way here, and he responded in his personal car, and they don't
Mhm.
want that to happen.
And then there's also, you know, he brought up an example too, there's people that could technically live in La Crescent, you know, city
Right.
area, but are technically in Winona County, but you still live in La Crescent, so we kind of said that was,
Mhm.
you know.
So it would just involve going 5 miles into Fillmore or Winona counties.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
common
So
sense.
he'll bring it up next week, but we want to give you all a chance to
Yeah.
think
Yep.
about it before he brings it up.
Last thing too, I talked to Rick and just wanted to let you guys know, or I don't, now you want to talk about it or get Rick on for next week and talk about it, but there had been some issues going on and a lot of people concerned with what was going on with the, over by kind of Miller's Corners with the railroad. And
Yeah.
Rick explained to me what happened, and I just had asked him, I said, you want to come in? And originally, we were talking about maybe by the frac sand update, since that's kind of what spurred this
Mhm.
on. And I just asked if you want to maybe just fill us in on what was going on with the railroad, stuff like that, so.
He did
I just-
explain it to Dana and I
Yeah,
in
Yeah, I
committee,
said,
and
if you guys wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, it might be good to come and
I
talk
think it
about
would
it
be.
on record for the papers.
Mhm.
If you want, Rick.
Yeah, the CP Rail started in 14. They had filed for permits to upgrade the bridge that runs across the Red River. They had filed for the necessary wetland impacts that were going to take place, and those are only temporary. They plan on replacing some of the old pilings that are inside the Red River, the water itself. When that happens, the TEP panel decided that's public waters, and normally when that happens, we defer as a TEP panel to the DNR. The DNR then takes all that information from CP Rail and they issue a public waters permit, and that's what happened in 14. It was brought to the attention of the panel. We looked at the plans, and like I said, the TEP panel then referred it back to the state then to review it and issue the permits because it's inside the banks of the Red River. And there was only going to be a minimum of temporary impacts. They need to when they get done, to take all the fill or material that they have placed there to replace and upgrade that bridge. Presently, the TEP panel, and I'll say the TEP panel consists of federal state agencies such as the Army Corps of Engineers. That's who sits on the county TEP panel, Houston County's TEP panel. It's members from the Corps of Engineers, the DNR, the Board of Soil and Water Resources. County staff consists of the highway engineer, my office, and the Soil Conservation Service. There's 7 of us that sit on, or 6 of us sit on that panel.
tell us what TEP is though, just so.
The TEP, what it stands for is a Technical Evaluation Panel.
Okay.
We review all wetland applications that come across in this county. When we get them, we go through them, evaluate them to make sure that they do meet the requirements that are set forth in the Wetland Conservation Act. That's a federal program. And like I said, all the applications go through that panel. And right now, CP Rail has been working with the TEP panel for a few months now. They want to create a second passing lane going be north of Brownsville up to almost, if you remember where that trailer house for that casino was many years, was proposed, that didn't ever get off the ground, to there. It needs, if there's a resident just on the east side of there that's owned, it's privately owned, they have to stay south of that. From the mere fact they cannot block that driveway for emergency purposes. So the application is before the TEP panel, and we sat down and reviewed it again on Friday, the whole TEP panel, and the consultant with CP Rail. And what they're proposing to do is put another rail between their existing rail and the state highway, so that they can pull trains over and pass going either way and then proceed again. The actions we took Friday, and it'll be coming to you in the next week or so, is we were working on the wetland delineations that were going to be impacted within that 2-mile area. We did agree on the delineations that they did and the impacts that are going to take place. There is roughly over about an acre of total wetland impact within that 2-mile area that we have to address. But we do agree on everything that they have proposed now. It's taken a few months to get to this because we needed to review it. We needed to go down personally and look at it and everything to agree to where we are now. And then, like I said, last Friday, we agreed on the delineation and the impacts that are going to take place. So that's where we are now. That'll come before you, like I say, in the next week or so. From there, it needs to go to public notice for 15 days. And then from there, if there's, depending on the comments we get, if there's no comments, we then proceed with agreeing, and then they, in turn, then will replace the wetlands that got impacted. We did request that those replacements be kept within the Root River wetland area because it's close to that. There is a number of banking units within that watershed, so that's where we asked that water that be replaced by. They're looking, like I said, they would like to get started on this sometime this year, if all possible, if they can get the permits in line. I know they have they have discussions going right now with the state DOT because there is going to be some impact on highway right-of-way because in order to make the turns and stuff, they needed to probably work with the DOT as far as the impact that they have on the state highway right-of-way. It's some landscaping and different things that are going to have to be worked out through the DOT. But that's where everything is now with CP Rail. Like I said, I know there were some discussions on different alternatives that they thought were going on down there, but like I said, they have CP Rail has worked with us on bridge replacement and then this extra spur. That's all I'm aware of.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any further business to come before this meeting? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Justin?
Second.
Dana? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Meeting is adjourned.